When it comes to the trans community, there's going to be something controversial. Some of you guys might not like it, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. For example, if you believe you are trans, I don't have a problem with it as long as you keep it to yourself, in the sense that you don't try to push it on me or my children, and as long as you came to that decision on your own. For example, if my kid were to come over and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm trans," I will say, "Okay, fine, that's okay, that's cool." But what made you believe you were trans? And if my kid were to say, "Well, my teacher told me I was trans," I would probably be pissed off because now I know that my kid didn't come up with that decision. It was the teacher who told them that. But for example, if my kid were to say, "Hey, Dad, I'm trans," and they were like, what, 15? And then tell them, "Well, how did you come up with that? Well, what made you think that?" And they say, "Well, that's I've been thinking about this kind of things, and I came up with that conclusion myself." Now, obviously, I'm gonna have some respect for it, but I'm also gonna tell them like, "Hey, well, there is a big decision. You're gonna have to wait till 18 if you're 18, and if you still feel this way, by all means, go on right ahead. But you are a minor. It's a very big decision. So, if anything, I would refrain from doing anything." Out of the ordinary. For example, let's say taking hormones until you become 18. You want to dress a certain way, by all means, go on ahead. Obviously, you came to that conclusion. But I'm not going to have you take hormones or anything like that until you're 18, because at that point, you're going to be an adult. So, that's how I see it. I'm a live and let live kind of guy. But when it comes to Jessica Yaniv, one thing that I can't stand about her is that she gives the trans community basically a bad name. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into the whole state of victim or stuff like that slightly. I'm going to go into it slightly. But there's no denying that the gay community, the lesbian community, the trans community, etc., back in the day, and not saying today, because today they have it pretty good, but back in the day, for example, like back in the 50s and the 40s, or even throughout history, they've had a hard time trying to be accepted. And one of the worst things that people like Jessica Yaniv can do is make people in the trans community look bad. For example, all it takes is one bad act from a specific person, and it can potentially ruin the way people view that community. One of the reasons why I hate ISIS and Al Qaeda more than anything, not only because they kill innocent people, but because they make the Muslim religion look bad. Now, I have friends who are Muslim, and one of the things that they hate is ISIS. I hate ISIS. I hate Al Qaeda. That's what they always tell me. They hate ISIS. Even then, for example, when it was announced that Donald Trump had actually push ISIS literally to a minuscule fraction of a minuscule presence in the Middle East, they were actually happy. They were literally telling me, "I can't believe Donald Trump did this. Now I don't have to worry about people viewing me as a threat, right? Because of these evil individuals known as ISIS, right?" I was surprised, but at the same time I wasn't really, because usually you would expect that people would say, "Well, I don't like Trump," stuff like that. But in reality, again, I was shocked. Not because the guy was Muslim, but because usually they're told to hate Trump and that, and etc. But I could understand what the guy, I could somewhat sympathize with the guy. But to some degree, I also hate the people that make my community look bad. In this case, it will be the Cholo community, for example. Show you some pictures for a bit. Hopefully, I don't get copyright strike. But whether or not you like the Cholo culture, that's up to you. I'm not trying to bash it or anything that. I'm not trying to bash it, that it's a negative thing. But as much as some people might like it, I think this makes us look bad in the retrospect. For example, covered up, being all bald, with saggy pants, oversized shirts, tattoos from head to toe. You know what I mean? I can't stand these kinds of people because they make our community look bad. And also the way they talk too. I can't stand the way they talk either. But again, if you want to do that, by all means, go on ahead. Just don't push it on other people. You know what I mean? Just let the people join you with their own judgment. Not convince them, not force them. Again, it could be wrong, but again, I cannot stand this type of culture because whenever people say Hispanic, they envision this type of people, right? Obviously not this one, or these kinds of people. And my mom, my parents always told me, "Can you say if si tú no vas a la escuela, you're gonna end up with the cholos," right? That's what that basically in English it says. If you don't study, if you don't take your school seriously, you're gonna end up like the cholos. Now, obviously, whether or not it was a informed statement, because obviously they assume that cholos are not educated. I actually still think that. I could be wrong, and if I am, you feel free to prove me wrong. But I can't stand these kinds of people because they make our community look bad. And also the way they talk. They always like to say "Hey, how you doing, fool? How you doing, Nesse? Hey, Holmes, how you doing?" I can't stand the way they talk. I really can't. Because again, it makes the Hispanic community look bad. Not to mention, when it comes to the judgment of character, on Monday we celebrated Martin Luther King, and one of his most notorious quotes is, "I have a dream that one day my children won't be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Now, I'm gonna show you I'm gonna compare two different people, Jessica Yaniv and Blair White. First, gonna go with Jessica Yaniv. Jessica Yaniv, what she's done is that apparently she's assaulted a reporter. So apparently she tried to have a child's party, a pool party, where the kids are all topless. She also tried to sue a bunch of beauty salons for refusing to wax her male genitalia, even though they clearly stated that they are not trained to wax male genitalia. And at the same time, she is very vile. She is very rude. She's very despicable, right? And based on that, I will tell you that Jessica Yaniv is a very bad person. But the media will tell you Carlos thinks Jessica Yaniv is a bad person because she's trans. No, she's a bad person who happens to be trans. But I don't like her because she's trans. I don't like her because she has a very bad character. Look at Blair White, for example. She is a trans person. I'm actually subscribed to her channel, by the way. She's a trans person. She has good character from what I've seen in her videos. I could be wrong. I haven't met her in person. But she provides very solid arguments, and she also detests people like Jessica Yaniv because she believes that, like Yaniv, like myself, and like in the sense that me and Blair agree that Yaniv gives the trans community a bad name. But again, she's very level-headed. She likes to propose really good arguments, and I'll be honest with you, there's times where she actually proposes good arguments for the trans community, but there's also times when she criticizes the actions of the trans community when it comes to people like Jessica Yaniv. But again, there's a person that Blair White, I think she's a good person, not because she's trans, but because she has good character. She's a good person who happens to be trans, you know what I mean? Well, that's the difference. But Yaniv, she's not a good person. Therefore, I don't like her. But the media will tell you that I don't like Yaniv because she's trans, and that's not really the case. I just don't like her because she's a very bad person. But let's see what's going on with Jessica Yaniv. Apparently, from Post Millennial, it reads Jessica Yaniv arrested, charged with assault. So, Jessica Yaniv was arrested for assault of Canadian journalists on over the weekend. Really? Typo? Okay. According to the Keem Bext, the journalist who was assaulted by Yaniv on camera outside of the BC court on January 14, 2020, Yaniv spent time behind bars on the charge of assault. She may face up to 5 years for the assault. And if you've seen the video, it's right here. I think it's called Rebel News. I think it was what it's called. I could be wrong, but I think it's called Rebel News. Look it up. It's really she did assault this guy. He was asking her a question about why she's heading to court or something like that, and she suddenly just went on him. It was crazy. I was like, really? Is that the person you want to represent for the trans community? The same day, Yaniv falsely accused TPM's own Amy Eileen Ham, I think he's pronounced it Ham, of sexual assault while at the courtroom. Ham is suing Yaniv for defamation. There was a widespread speculation that Yaniv was arrested over the weekend, but the Post Millennial and other outlets weren't able to verify the claims at the time. Bex, being the alleged victim in this particular case, was able to confirm the arrest Wednesday afternoon. I don't understand how they say alleged victim when clearly he is recording Yaniv assaulting him, but okay. When reached for comment, Bex said Yaniv has been ordered to cease all contact with me, both directly and indirectly. I can't wait for the day when Yaniv is put away for the long haul. She is dangerous and unpredictable. Even if Yaniv is behind bars, civil litigations brought by Bex and Ham against Yaniv for assault and defamation respectively can proceed. According to Bex, Yaniv would be court ordered to appear for the civil litigations as planned. Yaniv was released back in the community after the arrest and will appear in court in February. She will also appear in court in February for 2 prohibited weapons charges. And then that concludes the article. But like I said, this person, Jessica Yaniv, she does not give the trans community a bad name. And I hate people who give their community a bad name. I hate people like Yaniv because she's hurting the trans community. The trans community and the LGBTQ community, every community that's tried some way, shape, or form has done the impossible to make themselves not look like they're being told they are. For example, let's go back to Martin Luther King. One of the people that I tend to disagree with the most is Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X, I never personally met him, but I didn't like his message about black people fighting back. Martin Luther King, for a specific reason, said, do not fight back. Even if they're hitting you, do not fight back. For one specific reason. Because the Democrats, back in the day, and I say Democrats because Democrats were pro-segregation. The Democrats, they were literally telling the world that black people were violent, they were monsters, that they were uncivilized, and I use that as an example, of course, but they did say similar things. And what did Martin Luther King do? He said, do not prove their narrative. Prove they are fake news. And yeah, he did. He ended up doing that. By blacks under Martin Luther King, by not fighting, by peacefully protesting, by showing that they were not the people that the Democrats wanted the nation to believe they were, he was successful in his campaign. Malcolm X, on the other hand, I think he did more harm than good for the black community under the civil rights movement, because Malcolm X did say, fight back. And what happens when they saw Malcolm X followers, for example, fight against police or fight against civilians, for example, when they turn violent? You think the Democrats, do you really think they didn't use that to leverage their argument? If they did, and they would say, see, we told you these people are violent, and look at that, they're being violent right now. You really want to live with these people? You really want to coexist? You know what I mean? And again, that's the worst thing you can do for your community. Yaniv, in this case, she's trans, at least that's what she says, but she's hurting the trans community. She's hurting it severely. Not only is she trying to have really questionable actions with kids at pool parties, but she's also getting arrested. She's also being violent. She's also suing companies for refusing to wax her genitalia, when in reality, they're not trained to do such thing. So Yaniv, she's a very horrible person, and I think that the media, when they prop her up or they should bring more attention to her, they are basically hurting the trans community. And I'll tell you this right now: if the media were to prop up Blair White, for example, ask her, what do you have to say about this? She's very rational. She's very reasonable too. And if anything, I wouldn't mind seeing CNN interview Blair White on trans issues. I wouldn't mind. I'll be like, it's probably the first time I'll watch CNN in a while. But they don't. Why? Because the point of the left is to simply say, you need to be tolerant towards everyone, even if they have bad character, and that's not the case. I don't tolerate Yaniv because she has bad character. Not because she's trans, but because she has bad character. But like I said, Yaniv, she deserves to get arrested, but she gives the trans community a bad name. And I can't stand that. I can't stand people who are so-called marginalized are literally ruining the reputation and trying to make the people who fought to make themselves look like equals, give them a bad name. Like I said, in my perspective, I don't like the cholo culture. I think they make the Hispanics look bad. I don't like the way they talk. I don't like the way they dress. I don't think it's civilized to some degree, right? It's not racist, but I just don't like the way they talk, or I also don't like the way they look. But again, that's my opinion. But I think they're usually stereotyped with bad people. For example, my mom would always tell me, if you don't go to school, you're gonna end up like a cholo, right? And anyway, like I said, I could be wrong. She could be wrong, but again, I think they just make us look bad in general with the cholos, of course, when it comes to the Hispanic community. But like I said, Yaniv, she's just hurting the trans community. She's not helping it. She's hurting it. And in anything, she's literally pushing the progress back. She's taking away all the progress. And then what happens when it comes to far-right extremists, and not conservatives, don't confuse them wrong, or for example, like people that are like hardcore traditional conservatives that don't believe in gay marriage or trans people, right, or the idea of being trans, those hardcore far-right, individuals, all they're going to say is, see, trans people are bad people. They go after children. Look at Jessica Yaniv. She's proving those old school far right extremists when it regards to trans people. She's proving them right, and that's not good. And again, not conservatives. So I don't want you to get mad. I'm not talking about conservatives of today. I'm talking about the old school far right people, the ones that are like super traditional. But again, I'm that kind of person. Live and let live. But Jessica Yaniv clearly doesn't want to live and let live. She wants people to abide by her standards, and that cannot happen. And she's also giving the trans community a bad name. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. That really does help. But the best thing you can do is just share the video if you think this video is worthy of sharing. If you know people who are trans that might be interested in this video, who have a problem with Yaniv, or even then who do not have a problem with Yaniv, but you think they you think that they need to be exposed to the kind of person Yaniv is, feel free to share it with them as well. But again, share it on social media, such as Facebook, Twitter. That helps out a lot. It really does. It helps me bypass other restrictions that YouTube has implemented on independent political commentators. But again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. That very much helps out. That really helps the channel grow as well. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Do you think Jessica Yaniv is hurting the trans community more than she claims to be helping it? Okay, she claims she's helping it. But in reality, I think that she's hurting it more than anything. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you guys think of Blair White as well? Have you guys ever heard of Blair White? Are you guys subscribed to her channel? Do you like her content? If you even if you do like her content, why do you like it? Is it because she happens to be trans, or she's a good person who happens to be trans? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you guys next time.